do you think that your fashion sense starts with your parents and how they dress you? Is this your first initial um, initiation into fashion, like how your parents dress you? And then as a kid, you start maybe start developing your own taste at some point. Is that how it was? Is that how it was for you? Do you remember?
What I can definitely say is that from an early age, I know that clothing was important to my mom. How we were dressed and what the clothing that she chose to dress us in was important. I have a younger sister, and when it was just me, I'm the older sibling. I remember she would make these outfits. There was like the mother-daughter outfit,
Oh
and
wow.
she sewed them herself. And she used really awesome sort of 70s kind of batik sort of prints and made like summer dresses. And, we'd get our pictures taken
Mm.
together. So definitely style was important to her. And I sensed that, through that effort that she was making to make clothes, for us. And then when my sister came along, she started to put us in matching outfits,
Mm.
the dreaded matching outfits to travel in or, go to church in or something like that.
Mm.
And definitely that had an influence on me, but I would also have to say that my grandmother, my father's mother, so that would be the Chinese side of my family,
Okay.
she had amazing style. And I noticed just how much she took care in putting herself together. She wore the Chinese dress,
Okay.
um, Cantonese, you call it the cheongsam, and it's that high collared dress with, it's very sheath cut, so it's cut close to the body, and it
Mm.
has usually two side slits that facilitate walking.
Mm.
She would have them tailor made. She was a career woman,
Mm.
and she definitely was, working with a lot of high level people. And so she was very careful to present herself very well. So she, in addition to having these impeccably made dresses, she would choose her handbags and her shoes, and she would do her hair up in a beautifully turned out chignon every day. Like she really kind of put herself together. And very possibly that's something that attracted my father to my mother, who, either even though coming from, kind of a poor rural background in the Philippines, growing up with her aunt, actually, in order for her parents to make ends meet with all the kids that they had, she was like this one girl in a family of boys,
Mm.
um, who kind of, I guess, they were really excited to have a girl around so that they could, her aunt could dress her up, and so she, I think, was really interested in how clothing and style could shape her identity to people. Definitely, my grandmother had that. I think my mother sort of sensed how to work that. And then when we were kids growing up in a very white neighborhood in Ontario, we became very aware of how our appearance would have would affect the perception of people around us.
Mm.
And I found that the more I tried to, was interested and tried to dress in like the popular clothing trends of the 1970s, which meant, Sears was the big store because, everyone could order from the Sears catalog. And so Roadrunner jeans, which were these kind of medium wash, kind of straight leg jeans with yellow stitching,
Mm.
were sort of the standard issue. If you were going to be a cool 11 or whatever, wow, 8-year old,
Mm.
you had to have Roadrunner jeans. Cougar boots, which have actually, was a Canadian brand.
Okay.
Uh, that's, winter boots are a kind of opportunity to show your style. But there was that brand was really popular, and they were a kind of moon booty sort of crossed with a hiking boot,
Mm-hmm.
and they had like a red interior and a brown leather exterior and this platform sole.
Mm-hmm.
And so you had to have those as well.
Interesting. Like the Uggs of the 70s or something.
Yeah, I would say that would be it, but
Mm.
with a little bit less of the I guess class status thing, because these items were actually really accessible no
Mm.
matter, even if you were coming from a working class background, but they still made it easier for you to integrate yourself within a very mainstream society
Okay.
in Ontario in the 1970s.
Yeah. Well, but just for a second with this Uggs thing, right? I, uh, these are expensive boots or something, right? Okay. See, I don't. The funny thing is, I actually had a friend from Philadelphia. The very first time I ever saw Ugg boots, right? Um, I think I was out in I think I was visiting doing something out in LA. I was living in Philadelphia and I was seeing one of my friends who was from Philadelphia, but she was living in LA at the time. And she had these Ugg boots on, and I called one of our mutual friends, and I was like, "Man, I think she's on drugs. Like, it's super hot out here. She's got these grandma like boots on. I was like, I did not see them as a status symbol at all. I thought she found these boots somewhere on the street or something, and I totally thought something was wrong. Like I, I never forget that. I never forget that call. I was like, I think it's something wrong with her, but then I found out about UGG boots, and okay, so there's okay.
But I mean, they see this is what's interesting about your story is that to your eye, they look like these really broken down, sort of like grandma slippers that like they didn't have any appeal. They are kind of very casual, very soft.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a lot of structure.
Mm-hmm.
But they're an old Australian brand,
Mm-hmm.
actually, very well established. And then someone, I guess, had the good idea to make it a fashion brand, like to rebrand it for the fashion market. A very practical boot, like men and women wear them in Australia. They're not special, but they became, marketed very cleverly and then became the status symbol they are today. And I know that they're kind of controversial. I know my sister, she's got a very strong feeling about them. Like she won't wear them, and she kind of has this she doesn't want to wear them because she doesn't also want to be perceived as that kind of Lululemon
Mm-hmm.
wearing, UGG wearing kind of imposter,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, rich girl kind of thing. Like
Wow.
she rejects that perception, which is why she rejects Uggs. I personally like them because I find them damn comfortable
Mm.
and warm.
Okay.
And, and up here, I think that when you just need to, run out very quickly and get something and it's -5, you can throw those on and they have a practical element to them. And the
Interesting.
status thing, I have to admit that there is something about wanting to feel put together, even if you're just being, kind of casual, that kind of, you know, boot can do for you, but I understand. I really get it. I understand both, the completely unaware perception that you had that they're just like these, like, what is wrong with
Yeah,
you? Like,
cause yeah, she had like a mini skirt on, and I was like, what is this she's wearing? You know, I was like, are you hot or are you cold? What's happening? Like, what?
yeah, that's the thing about Australia is that they it can be very warm, but people still wear them anyway. It is a it's the flip flop of Australia. What can I
Yeah,
tell you?
yeah, and that's a whole other problem because I have a strong aversion to flip flops.
Tell me about that.
I don't. I don't know. They upset me. They make me angry. I when I see them, I get enraged, and usually I make a Facebook post and I say, "Hey, I saw the first asshole with flip flops on, and it's only April, and he's already out in these flip flops, And I don't know because I kind of feel like I think it's interesting that you would say the Uggs of I mean, flip flops are the Uggs because for me, I see people wearing flip flops and they just look like lazy or something. Like it seems like you drag your feet and it's making this sliding noise and then it slaps up against you. I was like, oh man, come on. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you know what? I think they get a little bit associated with the whole like douchebag kind of movement.
Yeah, who wants to see guys' feet? Like, no, I don't want to see. Yeah,
You have a thing with men's toes. Is that it's just like the
all
men's men like okay yeah. There's a thing about foot care
hmm
that is kind of important when you're exposing your feet like that.
yeah.
And
Men
I
don't usually take care of their feet, right?
well, and also the kind of the way that you walk in flip flops, it can very much lend itself to a bit of laziness, you
hmm
know, sort of non-uprightness,
Yeah,
uh, certain sloth, you know, which can be off-putting.
yeah,
I agree
yeah.
there,
I'm
but
put
I
off.
actually really like them, and I had a thing with feet myself.
Mm,
You know, forever I was not into sandals. I was not into exposed digits, you
mm,
know, of the foot
mm.
kind.
Yeah,
It's just, you know, keep those under some shoes,
yeah,
okay? Do it
yeah.
favor. And then I don't know, something happened in my early 20s. I was kind of more into a bohemian
Mm,
aesthetic. I was kind of moving into that sort of thing.
mm-hmm,
And and then all of a sudden, toes were okay. You
mm,
know, sandals were okay. It's like, you know, I hated eggs
mm,
until, you know, and then one day it was they were fine.
yeah,
So same thing with exposed toes.
mm-hmm,
But
yeah,
but there is a kind of fashion archetype that is linked with, especially it's more of a male archetype
mm,
where you know you've just kind of given up and
mm,
or it's a kind of obnoxious,
yeah,
you know, an obnoxious way of being and wearing the world. You're kind of like, you know, yeah, well, I got the flip on, so what you gonna make of it? You know, like, yeah, deal with my toes, kind of
Oh
thing.
my God, I can't deal with your toes. This is the problem. I can't deal with it. This is I don't think I personally, if I ever ran for any political position, this will be my platform. Like flip flops, you can only be 30 feet from your house. Like, you got to be on the beach. But if my people catch you with your flip flops on, we're gonna ask for your ID. Where you live? You're too far from your house with these flip flops on. You know,
Oh
it's
well,
bad
I
for
mean,
society.
I think there's a dignified way to wear flip-flops,
No,
you know.
no.
No, and is that just men or do you also feel uncomfortable with flip-flops on, you know, the females,
Yeah,
women?
yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody, everybody. I mean, men more, but definitely everybody.
Hey,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And what if you were in a beach setting?
See, this is
Say,
why I don't go to the beach. I don't want to be confronted with a whole bunch of people walking around with like, you know,
exposed.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't. Sorry. I don't know. I just and it I wouldn't say that it's actually just the feet. I think it is actually the flip flops though. It's just something about them I really just don't like. I don't know if it makes me assume something about the person, but I
I
don't. Yeah, I mean it may say something about me too. Like, but I just can't do it. I'm not down with flip flops. Like, you know. So it is what it
Well,
is.
I know that there have been comments, you know, amongst DJs that you're not supposed to wear flip-flops. Like DJs are not supposed to wear flip-flops. Interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe there's something
Maybe,
it, in a kind of culture that says
Yeah,
this is not for public consumption.
yeah. It's like yeah, maybe it's like, are you serious? Are you serious about what you're doing with yourself right now? You got flip flops on. Like, do you care? Do you have passion for
Right. You
you know?
can't possibly be asking me to take you seriously when when you're so casual as to expose your toes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's an interesting idea. Like there are people who um, need to wear a shirt and tie, when they go to work, or a blazer or something, really conventional, but it's how they feel they're getting their kind of hard hat on and they're getting serious and they want to be taken seriously too.
Yeah.
It's interesting kind of how that perception is completely tied in with how we um, kind of assess somebody's abilities,
Mm-hmm.
and conviction or passion or seriousness or rigor. Right away you make an assessment, based on whether they're wearing flip flops or not.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.